On the Hawkeyes Sports Network from Learfield, this is the Fight for Iowa podcast. Brought to you by Athletico Physical Therapy, proud partner of the Iowa Hawkeyes and the Big Ten Conference. Hy-Vee, where there's a helpful smile in every aisle. Iowa's corn farmers of the Iowa Corn Growers Association and Iowa Corn Promotion Board. You may think Iowa grows corn, but the truth is, corn grows Iowa. Shields, we're right there with you in Des Moines, Sioux City, Iowa City, and Cedar Falls. University of Iowa Healthcare, changing medicine, changing lives. This is the Fight for Iowa podcast. Here's the voice of the Hawkeyes, Gary Dolphin.
A two-time All-Big Ten performer for Iowa basketball, forward Ryan Bowen is now a world champion. Bowen helped guide the Denver Nuggets to the NBA crown earlier this week. In his 8th year as assistant coach for the Nuggets, Bowen continues to draw on what he learned as a player for Tom Davis and his first bench job under Fran McCaffrey. The Fight for Iowa podcast welcomes Ryan Bowen to the microphone. I'll be right back after a word from sponsors Iowa Corn, Shields, Athletico, and UIHC.
More of the Fight for Iowa podcast after this.
After a cancer diagnosis, it's natural to want to start treatment right away. But first, get a second opinion from a team that specializes in your cancer. I'm Dr. George Weiner, Director of University of Iowa Holden Comprehensive Cancer Center. Before you start treatment, you deserve to be confident you have the right diagnosis and know every option available to you. So whether it's with us or somewhere else, get a second opinion. It can change your care and your life.
Hey everyone, I'm Mark Wahlberg, and I have some exciting news to share. At Wahlburgers, we are all about bringing the family together to enjoy a great meal and have a great time. That's why right now, for a limited time, kids eat free every day at all Hy-Vee Wahlburger locations. Kids 12 and under can enjoy one free kids meal with any purchase of an adult burger, sandwich, or entree salad.
Bring the family to Wahlburgers and the Wahlburgers and Hy-Vee stores, where right now kids can eat free.
Now back to the Fight for Iowa podcast. Here's the voice of the Hawkeyes, Gary Dolphin.
6'9", 215-pound Ryan Bowen found his way to Iowa City from Fort Madison back in 1994 and excelled for the next 4 years. Bowen averaged 9 points and 7 rebounds and brought a work ethic hard to match at either end of the court. His career 57% shooting and 208 steals remain all-time bests for the Hawkeyes. Bowen ranks in the top 10 with 804 rebounds. Throw in 124 block shots, and you can see how valuable a player Bowen was and is as an assistant coach for the Denver Nuggets. Denver is a short flight from Cedar Rapids or Des Moines. The mile-high city has always been a nice escape for hard-working Iowans, many transplanted, and call the Rockies home. Bowen has bumped into many of them.
Everywhere we go, there's Iowa plates, there's stickers, and a lot of Go Hawks just out to eat at restaurants. It's pretty cool. Obviously we got the sports column in downtown Denver. You walk into there and you feel like you feel like you could be in Iowa City, but definitely a lot of good Hawk fans out here in Denver.
Well, tell us about everybody's MVP, Nikola Jokic, 28 points, 16 rebounds in the title clinching game. The first player in history to lead a single NBA postseason in points scored, assists, and rebounds. What sets him apart, Ryan?
He's unbelievable. He plays, he thinks a different game than the rest of us. He is seriously, you always hear it all the time, 4 or 5 steps ahead. The quarterback can read this, 4 or 5 plays in advance, the point guard. I mean, he is our point guard of our team. Obviously we have Jamal Murray, but Nikola just sees a different game than everybody. And that's the best way that I can describe it. He when he comes to the bench, he'll tell us, hey, I see this, I see that. And we're like, okay, if that's what you see, that's probably better than what we see. Just his work ethic over the years, how he's improved his body. He's really unbelievable. He's the best basketball player in the world. And it's kind of interesting to say that about a, 6'11", kind of slow. It's funny, people say slow, but he's just an incredible person, incredible player. And I mentioned person. He's a better person. He is the nicest guy. Talks to our families all the time. Just how he interacts with the kids. But it's truly remarkable what he's able to do on the court. He wears guys out. People think, oh, like we need to run this guy. If you watch our games, he leads our break a good majority of the time. He can run with the best of them, and he's just an incredible person.
You know, he wears people out, to your point, but one thing I've noticed, for what little I know about the insight to the game, is as big as he is, he's a floater. I mean, he's light on his feet. He's got that soft jump shot when he shot fakes, gets to the basket, fingertip roll. I mean, he can do it all.
He really can. He's got an unbelievable touch. Just like I mentioned, a great feel for the game, but he gets it in that. He can go up for the shot. He can make the last second pass. His floater's unbelievable. It's kind of a funny, his rookie year when he came to us, and, I was heavily involved in player development, his first few years. And we're trying to get him to not shoot the floater. We didn't watch a lot of film on this guy, what he could do back when he was, growing up. And, Austin say, power, we got to get to the basket and finish. And he kept shooting the floater. We're like, Nicole, you got to get rid of the floater. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And here, 8 years later, we kind of look like fools to try to stop him from shooting the floater because he's got the best floater in the game. And no, he does. He wears people out, going from LeBron James to Anthony Davis to, our first round series against Minnesota to Phoenix. And this series, he just wears on you because he's able to do it for so long. He's in such great shape and condition. He uses the altitude to his advantage. And, he wants to play the whole game. We got in these finals, he usually takes about a 4 or 5 minute rest. Game 3, 4, 5, he's like, I'm not coming out. I'm playing the whole second half. Now, he got in foul problems in a couple of the games, but he can play. He can play the whole game. He's just an unbelievable athlete.
I'm watching him, and I'm not making a comparison here, but Philip Rebracha was the X factor for the Hawkeyes, certainly this past year, and maybe over 2 years. And he comes from the same neck of the woods that Nikola does. The first thing you notice is just work ethic. I mean, the guys both are unparalleled.
It must be something in Sombor, Serbia, because I think that's where they're both from. And it is all about his work ethic. Nikola committed his body about 4 or 5 years ago. It was midway through the season. He went up to our strength coach and said, hey, I really want to commit to this. And I remember our strength coach coming to talk to us as a staff and said, hey, he's going to be a little tired. There's going to be games. You're like, well, what is wrong with this guy? But he's going to put in extra effort. And I can't remember if it was 4 or 5 years ago. He started lifting after every game. After every game, he goes straight to the weight room, gets his lift in. He's the first guy in the gym. I won't say he's the last to leave. They always say, oh, he's the first one in the gym, the last to leave. He's usually the first one in the gym, but he leaves after practice because he's already got his work in. But just a tremendous work ethic and a tremendous example for our young guys to follow every day. When your best player is your hardest worker, you have something special and for everybody to watch and try to emulate.
Talking with Ryan Bowen, former Hawkeye star, now a top assistant coach with the world champion Nuggets. That Game 5 clinching victory showed once again there are different ways to win a basketball game. The Nuggets were 2 for their first 22 from the field, or from 3, missed 7 of 13 free throws to start the game, but hung in there with rebounding, forcing turnovers, steals. I was thinking of Ryan Bowen during that first half. Never let the heat get out of your sight. You know what dirtying it up means, Coach. Sometimes you have to find other means to post victory, especially in tense atmospheres like Ball Arena was on Monday.
Absolutely. It was not a pretty game, and we kind of won playing their brand of basketball. I mean, that's Miami Heat. Their defense toughness when you think about them and how they play. I think the last game might have messed it up, but we were on pace to have one of the most historic offensive efficiencies from an offensive standpoint in NBA playoffs history. And that kind of went down as the finals went on because of the way Miami plays. But to be able to win their type of game, we had foul problems. To your point, we missed free throws. I'm the quote unquote free throw coach. I was not in a good place during the first half of that game. But yeah, just to be able to get it done, to find different ways to win. I think that we got down 10 was probably the most we got down, and we just hung in there. We chipped away, got some great contributions off our bench. I mean, we had some unbelievable veteran leadership. A guy like DeAndre Jordan, who's played, 15 years in the NBA, never played in the finals. we had to throw him out there for 3 minutes at the end of the first quarter, and he did his job. He had a block, had a rebound, and we just got contributions like that. And it's really special to see those guys. Jeff Green, who's been in the NBA for 17 years, with 30 seconds to go, the game is still in the balance, and he's on the bench, and he's just crying, got tears down his eyes. Like, Jeff, the game's not over yet. You got to keep your composure. But we had a really good veteran group to go along with a good core younger players, and obviously the best player in the world helps.
Yeah, you have put a talented group around the Joker, Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon, the Arizona connection. Michael Porter Jr. Had a big night the other night, but he's been solid. Thomas Bryant, the former Indiana Hoosier. I mean, the Nuggets are far from a one-man show.
Absolutely, and I think that's the important thing to remember. Everybody had a part of this at some point of the season. It might be the random regular season game in December when your star players are hurt or just don't have it. A guy like Thomas Bryant can come in, or, you know, we had a two-way player, Jack White, who played at Duke, but he's from Australia. He came in and helped us win a couple of games. And then obviously you look at the rookies that we added. You know, Christian Brown, he wins a NCAA championship last year, wins an NBA championship. He was huge in the Miami series. We couldn't play him in the Lakers series. It just was a bad matchup. He had some big games for us. So it was definitely a full team effort, 1 through 17. And obviously, you know, an unbelievable coaching staff to go along with it.
No question about that. In fact, that was my next question. Mike Malone brought you with him from Sacramento, as I remember, when he was hired by the Nuggets as head coach 8 years ago. What's enjoyable about working for Mike Malone? What is it about his genuineness that has built this powerhouse program in Denver?
You know, I think the thing about Coach Malone is he only cares about winning. Like, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of BS stuff that coaches have to deal with. And at the end of the day, I think the coaches, the players just realize that he only wants to win. He's going to play the players they're going to help him win the game. He's not into, well, we got to keep this person happy or that person happy. If it means benching a starter to play whoever's playing that night, that's what he's going to do. And I think the players respect that. They know there's nothing given, that they're going to have to earn everything. He's honest with them, and he really communicates well with them. I think that's an important thing at this level. Just being able to go to a player after a game and say, hey, this is why you were out in the fourth quarter. You were bad on defense. This person had it going. I went with him. Hey, next game you're back in. And I think players respect that, because it's a different world that we coach in today, we play in today. You know, going back to these kids in high school, and you know, I think that's the biggest thing. I think just players respect his approach, and I think everybody knows he just wants to win, and that's his biggest thing.
Well said. This is the Fight for Iowa podcast. More with former Hawkeye Ryan Bowen of the world champion Denver Nuggets when we return in just a minute.
More of the Fight for Iowa podcast after this.
We all love a good win. Catching up with friends, saving money at the pump, soaking up the perfect Iowa day, sitting down to a really, really good meal. These are the everyday delights that make us smile. These are the moments that connect us all as Iowans. And these are the wins that, more often than not, start with Iowa's farm families and the crop they're growing. Because when corn grows Iowa, Iowans win. Learn more about how to share your own wins at iowacorn.org/Iowans win.
You don't have to go to the game to get a game program. You can download it now by visiting the game day page on HawkeyeSports.com. That's right, the game program is now digital and it's free. So check it out. Get the roster, the stats, and fascinating stories about today's matchup. Just go to HawkeyeSports.com and click on Game Day.
Oh, you know that old injury of yours? The one in your knee or maybe back? Instead of going to the doctor and then doing physical therapy, why not start with therapy first? Athletico Physical Therapy is changing the whole healing process around. Their physical therapists will find the source of your pain and help fix it. Start with them and start living pain-free. Just like that.
It all starts with Athletico Physical Therapy. Schedule your free assessment at athletico.com. No prescription needed. Proud partner of the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Now back to the Fight for Iowa podcast. Here's the voice of the Hawkeyes, Gary Dolphin.
Ryan Bowen with us on this week's Fight for Iowa podcast, celebrating a Denver Nuggets World Championship. Ryan, a longtime assistant coach with the Nuggets. Ryan, you played for Tom Davis at Iowa, started your coaching career really on the bench with the Hawkeyes and Fran McCaffrey's first year as director of video, meaning you were active in the scouting reports on opponents, learning from one of the best college mentors in the business with a veteran staff. How did that help prepare you for your coaching career in the NBA?
Oh, I think it was really important. In all honesty, I probably wasn't ready to get into coaching right away when I finished playing. I was with camp. I was with the Thunder that year. At the beginning of the season, got released right around Thanksgiving time, and Fran took over, whenever it was April that year, and I was like, hey, let's do it. I'm ready. And I think those first few years, that first year especially, I was thinking, I should still be playing somewhere, blah, 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 blah. But to realize the amount of time and effort that those coaches worked, I was like, holy cow, I have to change my mindset. I mean, Fran was in the office from 8 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock at night. And I remember being there in the middle of the summer, and, they're doing, recruiting meetings. And I'm sitting there and like, holy cow, this is a little different than the NBA, because I just got done playing. And as a player, when the season's over, you go back home and hang out, you work out on your own. And it's the middle of the summer and it's 6 o'clock at night, and we're talking about who's going to watch this guy there and which recruit's coming in here. And it was a kind of a switch that had to be turned. And then that first season with them, to realize the amount of hours and time that they put in. And, they're going from recruiting meetings to scout prep to practice, right back on the phones, to realize the time and effort those coaches put in. It was big. It was a big turning point for me to realize, hey, you're no longer a player. You have to change your mindset. You're a coach. This is what it's going to take. Now, going into year two, all of a sudden I had an opportunity to get on with the Nuggets with George Karl. And it was really tough for me because I really wanted to be at Iowa. Obviously, I'm a Hawkeye, and work for Coach McCaffrey was an unbelievable opportunity. But just the opportunity to get back in the NBA at some level was appealing to me, and so I left and kind of never turned back. But those first few year and a half that I spent at Iowa with Coach just made me realize the work that it was going to take.
How often do you get back to Fort Madison, Burlington area? I know you had a foundation. You've put that into a trust now that benefits scholarship recipients, but you never forget where you came from, do you?
Oh, absolutely. I try to get back as much as possible. My parents are actually up in Iowa City now, so try to get there to see them a few times in the summer. Don't get home during the season at all, unfortunately, but as much as possible, I'll try to get back a couple times. I'm really hoping to make it back for the Chris Street Golf Tournament. I haven't been back in it's probably been 7 or 8 years. That's one thing that I really want to try to get back to, and definitely keep in touch with a lot of people back there. And but hope to get home a few times, whether it's Fort Madison, Burlington, and make it up to Iowa City. Hopefully it'd be fun to do that this summer.
Sounds great. And both your sons are playing college basketball. Tell us about that.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, my son is be a sophomore at Denver University here in town. He was at Wyoming, redshirted that year, and transferred. So he played a little bit last year. They're in the Summit League, and had a pretty good season. And then my other son just graduated from high school and is going to go play at the University of South Carolina, Beaufort, which is just outside of Hilton Head. So it might be nice to go visit there, play a little golf, a little pickleball. We're into the pickleball scene. But no, my son that plays at DU, it was great. He had his career high this year was at UCLA. They got to play at UCLA.
Wow.
And for him to knock down his first, he made his first college three there was pretty special to get to say he got to play at a Poly Pavilion. So
Poly Pavilion, one of the great meccas of college basketball. Yep. Good stuff. Ryan, always great catching up with you. We'll do this again. Can't tell you how much we appreciate your time, and so do our Hawk fans here on our Fight for Iowa podcast.
Appreciate it, Dolph. Good to talk to you, and go Hawks.
Go Hawks indeed. And I'll come back and wrap up this week's Fight for Iowa podcast right after this important word from our sponsors.
More of the Fight for Iowa podcast after this.
Knowing that I can make a difference in my patients' lives keeps me motivated every single day. Hi, I'm Dr. Kanya Ferguson at University of Iowa Healthcare. With academic medicine, we see the toughest cases, so we're always innovating. And we bring the best minds together to collaborate, so there's more brain power focused on you. Because that leads to exceptional care for our patients and our community. See how at uihc.org.
Hey, Hawkeyes fans, the wait is over. The Iowa men's and women's basketball teams are back on the court, and Shields has everything you need to cheer on your favorite players all season long. Take your game day gear to the next level with Shields Fan Shop. We have an unmatched lineup of gear, including jerseys, hats, hoodies, and more to help you show off your team colors. So gear up, Hawkeyes fans, and celebrate all season with Shields, a proud partner of Iowa basketball and hoops fans everywhere.
Now back to the Fight for Iowa podcast. Here's the voice of the Hawkeyes, Gary Dolphin.
Hawkeye sophomore flame-throwing pitcher Brody Brecht, earlier this week selected as a third-team All-American, has been invited to the USA Baseball Collegiate National Team Training Camp, June 25th through the 28th. The camp features 56 of the premier non-draft eligible college players for a 4-game Stars versus Stripes intra-squad series, after which a 26-man roster will be selected to represent the United States against Chinese Taipei and Japan June 30th through July 12th. Brecht, a first-team All-Big Ten selection, won 5 and lost 2 with a 3.74 earned run average, striking out 109 batters over 77 innings. Brecht led the nation in hits allowed per 9 innings at 4.32. Brecht and a trio of teammates, Brennan DeRigi, Sam Peterson, and Keaton Anthony, have been given all Midwest region honors, courtesy of the American Baseball Coaches Association and the Rawlings Company. That's our show for this week. I'm Gary Dolphin. Thanks again to Ryan Bowen, and thanks to you for listening to Fight for Iowa. Go Hawks!
You've been listening to the Fight for Iowa podcast. Hawkeye fans, remember to hit the subscribe button on your favorite podcast app. Once you become a Fight for Iowa podcast subscriber, you'll automatically receive the latest episodes of the Fight for Iowa podcast, the Hawkeyes Voice podcast, Hawk Talk replays, exclusive game day content, and more. Until next time, on Iowa, and go Hawks! The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Hawkeye Sports Network.